Bellroy finally entered the luggage game with this Transit Carry On, and I got to spend some time with it. So in this video, I covered the good, the bad, who it's for, and how Bellroy actually stood out with a pretty fun feature. The carry-on hardshell roller category is the hardest to review because there's so little difference between all the bags in the market. And that's partially due to airline bag restrictions. So here's some stats. The Transit Carry-On is no different. Same capacity, same size as other bags, similar components and layout. All of these bags have a maximum size limit, so most companies will just build to that size. One thing that did stand out was the weight. Being under 7 pounds is impressive, and it definitely felt lighter than the other bags. But it's not like absurdly lighter, because some of the bags on this list that are heavier are that way because they add some features. I almost wasn't going to talk about the weight category because I thought a few pounds of difference here or there didn't matter too much, and that is true. But if you've seen Peak Design's carry-on luggage release, so many people had very strong opinions about the case weighing almost 9 pounds. People were saying it was a deal breaker and everything, so clearly people care about weight, and I get it, because a lot of international airlines have a 7 to 10 kilogram or 15 to 22 pound limit. So if the empty luggage eats up like 2/3 of that, not great. And airlines are only going to get more restrictive in the future. This Transit Carry-On is light, but not anything too game-changing. Now, if it was around 5 pounds, that's a different story because then you're almost half the weight of other carry-ons. But being lightweight still is a benefit. Starting with the outside, honestly, I'll go through this pretty fast because there's not a lot of differences to talk about versus any other standard case. The outside has some pretty subtle branding, and I think Bellroy always will stand out with some cool color options. The wheels are like almost every other bag, so no complaints, and just nothing really to talk about there. Fabric side handles, haven't seen that before. Doesn't really provide a functional difference, but it does give a nice touch of style. Very typical Bellroy. And the handle was the only place on the outside I'd say is different than other cases. So this handle is exposed, which I haven't seen before. Maybe it saves a little weight because it doesn't need material to cover, but maybe not. But the point of this design is to make the component easily repairable. So the case is supposed to be designed to be repairable, and they actually sell some self-fix-it kits. I've personally never broken a case, so I can't really comment on that, but similar to Patagonia's approach to their products, designing with repairability in mind just generally makes the warranty a little easier to use. The handle itself has 3 height positions and a button on the bottom, and I always like that. I think it's easier to push. But at least on my roller, the handle action is just not quite as smooth as other cases I've used. But also I guess it's not as wobbly, so it's fine. Functionally, it didn't make a difference either way. It was just something I noticed. Okay, so now to the interesting part. Moving to the inside, that's where Bellroy changed things up and will probably be the determining factor for a lot of people. It's 41 liters and has this really nice blue fabric that they have on their other Transit Workpack Pros. There's a split design like on most rollers, there's pocket and no pocket. I'm not a huge fan of the split design. I would always prefer double zip sides, but what I've definitely voiced in other videos is that I hate the stupid divider compression strap setup that a lot of companies do. I always just throw away the divider. I don't think it's very useful and it just takes up space. Bellroy instead went with 2 packing cubes that connect to the side, which I actually like better. I don't have the measurements, but they're pretty large, and they basically go to the depth of this half. So I would estimate maybe 7 liters for the top one and 11 liters for the bottom one. I ended up putting socks and smaller items up top and a pair of shoes on the bottom, but mostly I used this to separate dirty clothes as I wore them on the trip. And you can also detach them from both the case and detach them from each other if you ever wanted to use the cube somewhere else. So if you only have one in here, it kind of floats. For these cubes, at best, it gave me more organization and separation than what I'm used to in typical rollers. And at worst, I got 2 packing cubes that I don't have to buy separately. But the packing cubes were something I found way more useful than the typical included divider. Okay, so final thoughts, and who is this Transit Carry On for? The Transit Carry On is a sub 7 pound lightweight case with nice colors and packing cubes that's also very similar to the competition. I think the decision to buy depends on your perspective. On one hand, are these packing cubes game changing? Not really. Most people own packing cubes already or don't use them, so what does this Bellroy really do differently? And you'd have a good point. But on the other hand, carry-on rollers are so similar that even a small change like this feels significant enough to sway a purchase decision. Like, if I'm deciding between this and another case, and they're like 90% similar, but one has the old divider and this one has packing cubes, I'd choose the packing cubes one. Anyways, comment below if you want a response, let's talk, and subscribe for new videos on Sundays. Thanks!